Today we saw a patchwork quilt. It's difficult and multi-step process, but it's necessary to try. We offer interesting and not so difficult scheme of assemblage. Having made one such block and having repeated it many times, we will have a beautiful cloth with interesting geometrical design. And for warm-up, we will try the scheme for a colorful jeans backpack or a purse. Tatiana Lazareva wishes you textile luck. Hello, dear viewers! Even more often, words of the remarkable scrappy master from the Ryazan region come to memory that all has changed. There are a lot of crack and vanity. All is a purchase and sale, and you accept as a gift from me my moonlight of a scrappy landscape. Not because there is nothing to buy, but because it's warmly to live with it. And really, things which are created by our hands keep the warmth of our hands, and they enclose the part of our heart. They make our life brighter and more interesting. I want to offer you a very interesting block, which is collecting quickly enough and turns to the most unexpected scrappy themes. I take a dark blue strip and white. I fold them face to face and cut out the necessary quantity of squares, which will consist of 2 layers, dark blue and white. Then I will bend each square diagonally. We will make so. I cut off a square. It consists of 2 layers. Then I bend it diagonally. The diagonal can be planned manually, simply having pressed the fold with fingers, and it's possible to take the iron, if you lay 2 lines right and left of the bend. And then we'll cut in the middle. You will have at once 2 details, which will consist of 2 rectangular triangles. All is very simple. Making wet heat processing, we see to it that the iron platform put on the assembled block strictly vertically, hand movement from top to down. Now we begin assemblage of the second block. As we see, it's simple chessboard method. It can be made by sewing together squares. It will be labor-consuming. We will accelerate this process and take strips, but they will be narrow. We connect, in this case, red and white strips by a machine line. Then we unfold, and by means of a cardboard template we do a marking. And at once we unite all this square, which we will have as a result of assemblage. So, we have prepared details. We have some such details and such. And now we will simply unite them among themselves in a certain order. Look, here alternation of these rhythmic patterns gives such block. Then we unite blocks among themselves in the most different ways. We can simply repeat many times the scheme and can lay out diagonally. Look, how do we get it? Pay attention to connection of elements of assemblage by means of pins. Stick pins preciously at an angle of 90 degrees to a prospective seam and stitch directly on pins. So, our multi-level work is finished. We have assembled the necessary quantity of blocks, and you see that we can connect them among themselves at an angle. We assembled so a blanket. In other words, we have simply assembled blocks and have united them under such corner. We have squares. And it would be possible to make here, and then we will have absolutely another pattern. You can put in these details on the floor or on the big table to look what product personally you will like more. Any scrappy product will play if you take care of it and will quilt it. Pay attention. I used usual manual stitch, but if you want, you can accelerate process and simple along the lines of seams or in cuts of seams or near a seam for width of your machine pad to lay cup seaming. But the most important thing, you need to prepare the product before quilting. In what preparation of the big patchwork quilt consists? You will need to take a lining necessarily. Usually it fixed either on the floor or on the big planed surface of the table, if you have such table, by means of an adhesive tape. You fix corners and the middle of the parties of the lining using the adhesive tape. Then you take a synthetic winterizer and spray it directly on the lining spread out evenly. Then the scrape is set, which will be fixed by pins, or is better to do preliminary seam basting of the products. How to do it? You lay wide and vigorous enough stitches a needle forward But take a big needle, a thread without a small knot, then to remove these threads easily, and lay from the product middle large stitches. How? At first upwards, then from the middle as though smoothing the surface downwards, then to the right, to the left, and then preciously so diagonally, and all is made from the middle. Then you will smooth the product very beautiful and interesting. You won't have wrinkles on the lining and from above, because it's fixed by the adhesive tape. And then, when you have already laid big running white stitches, you will need to quilt either in the machine or manual your product. And now I suggest to have a rest from the difficult scheme and to make very simple method. When you work, necessarily there is any waste which doesn't need to be thrown out because you can use them later. For example, you still have such strips of a fabric, then can be even not equal and have their own form. They can be fixed at assemblage between two strips, and then they will create an illusion of very beautiful and interesting color relief. Like this. And you can combine strips with narrow, white, color and monophonic. You can do this selection from light to dark, from narrow to wide. And at stitch, you can turn strips how you will want, and it's possible to create many variants of already difficult patterns on the basis of this method. We put fabric strips with pattern inside monophonic strips and lay a cup seaming. It's possible to use color strips different in width. Having iron strips in the site necessary to you, connect with lining, synthetic winterizer and quilt at will. It's possible to use a decorative thread for stitch. Let's try to get from a pre-production model very simple product. For example, a purse. We process edges by bias bindings, lay in a machine stitch, and then fix edge by a secret stitch. We fix by a machine stitch a zipper, stitch lateral seams. And now, turn out having unzipped. As we see, it's simple, economic, practical and very colorful. Make your life bright and interesting. I used this difficult pattern for assemblage of very convenient practical things. For example, the padded jacket. It's bright enough and very practical, because it's washed well, has interesting pattern, and in movement all the strips, for example, at a sleeve band, for example, if it's cuffs, give many lighting. The method is simple but very interesting. You can make back or any interior things. Try. It seems to me you necessarily will find a use for this not dull and bright method. Our masterclass is finished. The medieval demonstrator confirmed that skilled workers are good wives, the income and savings in all. Take care of yourself and the relatives, and decorate your world with bright, scrappy things. Good luck and 2 new meetings!